So there was a letter from the Minister of Education. He sent it to the Minister of Health. That's dated on the 27th of Feb 2020. And he's telling him under the title urgent and confidential. And he's telling him that if there are any measures to be taken, if we can start a campaign to raise the awareness of people of the dangerous virus, corona. But on the 13th, the minister issued a decision, and that decision was straightforward, that schools and universities should be closed. So this is our first experience with coronavirus. So closing the schools, that means that there will be a price to be paid, because we have teachers, head teachers, mentors, people who work in the Ministry of Education will stay at home, and they will keep on receiving their salary. So this is, in my opinion, this is a loss of the spending. But also we have many young people, I think primary education and secondary education, it's up to 1,600,000 students. They're going to stay at home. Some of them will be in the streets. Unfortunately, after the unrest in Libya, we have, I don't know how to say this, but the drug dealers and the bad, if you like, the bad people, they started their work. So that's why I said they will be exploited by drug dealers, especially in the last 10 years, I mean, after the unrest. So I made this clear even to parents when we were trying to convince people and to convince the head teachers and teachers and those who are in charge of education that keeping the students from the street will be a benefit. Anyway, at that time, we felt that there are certain changes, because our system is based on the traditional way of teaching and learning, maybe lecturing. It's the didactic teaching, as people say. Some people describe it as a jug and mug process. So we thought about the online and distance learning, but there are challenges. We thought about it. That's the first thing which came into our mind. And the first challenge, actually, we call it the digital gap. In other words, we don't have the infrastructure for the internet or e-learning or even distance learning. Also, our members of staff are not really trained to use the internet in teaching and learning. So this is another problem, another challenge. So we need to, how can we teach, or let's say train our members of staff in the university to use the internet, to use we call it cooperative methods of teaching and learning. But also students themselves, they don't have, many students, they don't have, neither in the university nor in their homes or houses, they don't have the internet. So that's another challenge if we want to think about using the e-learning or the distance learning. But also we have a problem that teachers are not really trained. They cannot supervise the teaching learning process. They cannot evaluate it. That's going, especially if we adopt the online learning. The other thing, which is, I think you are aware of that, the power cuts continuously for very long hours. We have a problem. It's like, Libya is a very rich country, by the way, and they can provide themselves with the electricity, because we have the gas, we have the oil, we have everything. But unfortunately, now it's winter in Libya and it's freezing, and we still suffer from the power cuts, which continued all over the last 10 years, if you like. We have what we call recommendations for finding solutions for distance learning. By the way, we had a very, let's say, humble attempt, especially in Benghazi, to start what we call it the distance learning. But unfortunately, it's the same old story. We have inspectors or teachers who will teach lessons, and then send them, or maybe via the, in CDs, or maybe they can upload them on the YouTube, but it's still the old story, which is didactic teaching. There's nothing interesting, and because of the power supply, so students could not get access even to the televisions. So these recommendations is addressing the digital gap, which is that's, I know, especially because of the unrest in Libya, the only thing that they do actually is supply or give us our salary. The third, we call it the third part, which is responsible for development or building buildings or providing the services like the internet. They don't have money for this, but we still say internet should be provided and be used in higher education institutions. We have to train the members of the staff so they can use the internet effectively. They can upload their lessons. They can design their lessons to be attractive to students. But also using tools, media available. The online learning, sometimes it's synchronous, sometimes asynchronous learning. And you are aware of that, I think. So these are the recommendations that we put forward to universities, but also establishing the rules for students, because when students go online, there are certain rules. We encourage them to use what we call the formative assessment. Unfortunately, our staff are not really trained to use formative assessment. Most of the exams or the tests are to test their knowledge or their memory. How can they memorize the information? But using the online learning means that students will get involved in learning, but also the way to assess them, it should be different. That we should we should train the teachers so they can use very effective and also modern ways of testing their students. But also establishing this is a very interesting attempt by the Ministry of Education, and we did this. So still in the beginning, we've established the General Center for E-Learning Technology. And their main, if you like, task is to expand the e-learning and produce interactive educational material. It's still in the beginning, but we have a very interesting people who are ready to start and train members of staff, university teachers, but also teachers in primary school and secondary school education. We had what we call it the regulation for the e-learning, because in Libya it's not like the rest of the world. If you are using something in education, people, they will go to the court and say this type of education, which I mean the e-learning, is not if you like prepared or designed or controlled by the we call it the regulations. So people can accept the e-learning. The universities will accept the e-learning as well. It's going to be something legal, and then we can use it to train or to educate our students. So we needed the regulations, and we did that as well. The most important thing to us, or to me, because I spoke to the minister, by the way, this memorandum of memoirs, sometimes I send it to the what we call it the National Planning Council, but also I send it to the Ministry of Education. Corona pandemic, we thought it's going to be an alarm to wake up. So it's like to wake us in Libya, to wake the higher education sector in Libya. In the past, our learning methods, our members of staff, lack of resources, we don't have the e-learning. So this is a warning to us. Guys, wake up. You need to train. You need to use the e-learning. This is can be an alternative, or it can be used to support the classical, or let's say traditional teaching and learning in the universities. So we need what we call flexible approaches, which in fact what we mean by flexible approaches actually is the e-learning or the distance learning, especially in times where we have a lot of crises, a lot of risks. Institutions can swap from the traditional teaching learning to the e-learning. But also we need to activate, you know, the role of offices. We have offices like we call it social services, or what we, you know, the psychological, if you like, guidance offices. We need this. It's like a must, because unfortunately many students in the universities, maybe in schools, they become victims of the drug dealers. There are certain cases which is like, in my opinion, it's like a spread of using the drugs in the universities. Young people who have nothing to do, they receive money from the government, but also, you know, no activities, no learning, no studying, so they will be a victim for those people. But also in schools and also in universities, we have phenomena which is called bullying, and the you know, people attacking each other. I don't know, maybe because of the social problems, maybe economical problems. That's why we need to activate the role of these offices like the social services in all the faculties and all the universities. But also because of the pandemic showed us that we are falling behind in terms of the health services. In the past, in the 70s or 60s, people used to tell us, those people who study in schools and universities, they used to provide the medical examinations, you know, for the students, you know, check up teeth, general health and everything. So we need to activate these offices in the universities as well as in schools. But also we need to pay attention to, you know, public health sector, public health in the university. This is specialization. We need to direct students to study in these departments or sections in the faculty of medicine. But also you will be surprised when I talked about we need to pay attention to health and higher education, and also provide the toilets for both sexes, you know, toilets for women, toilets for men, toilets for disabled people. We don't have these facilities in the universities. So we need them now, but also we need to provide some universities, some faculty don't have even the basic things like the water, like the soap, like, you know, cleaning materials. So we need to provide that. But also we need to pay attention to community health specializations, encourage postgraduate students to study viruses. I know Libya is a third world country, but at least we need to start. We cannot just rely on vaccination or people from outside the country to tell us what to do. We need those people who are specialized in research, studying viruses. Maybe in their laboratories, they can think about study these viruses and tell us about what to do and if they can prepare or vaccination or whatever. I know this is something, it's a hope, but you know, we still have a lot of people who are very educated and they can provide us with sometimes we need the information, the protocols, how can we fight this coronavirus. And also we have generous suggestions for the universities, and we need to encourage the universities to take part in the society, serving the society. So establishing medium technical, unfortunately, establishing medium technical vocational education institutes, which students who get they join the university because this is the only alternative to them. They don't have any other alternative but to go to the universities. So this is the suggestion that we put forward to the Ministry of Education. The medium technical and vocational education institution, it's after the preparatory school. So they can go to work, they can go to these institutions, so they get the profession, and in the future, they will be trained to do the physical work, vocational and technical. That will reduce the number of students, because we have large number of students who go to the university because they have no other alternative. University leadership, unfortunately, when we visited, I visited with a team. Dr. Fatima is the deputy minister. We visited about 13 universities in the eastern part of Libya. And we discovered that the leaders are not up to the level. So we thought about, when we talk about governance, when we thought about, you have a council and you need to consult your council, your decision should be based on data and information given to you by research, by the leaders in the we call it the university administrations. Those people are not to the level. So we thought about changing the university leadership. And also we opened the door to the new candidates. And those people should be honest, and those people should be capable of managing the university. And those people who would activate the role of administrative and financial departments. We need, it's like, the main principle to lead, and you lead with, the other members of staff. Your decision should be based, as I said, on information and data given to you. Activate the role of the legal department. It's very important. Finally, develop interest services to ensure, internet service, e-learning, to ensure that the quality of communication between the Ministry of Education and the universities. Sometimes we need statistics from any universities, and they said, we can't give you that now because of, we don't have any internet service that we can use to receive information from the universities. But also we need commitment to transparency. We need to fight corruption. We need to convince the universities, and also the president, we call it the president, the head of the university, that they should be honest, they should be transparent. Any decision should be taken by the council, which is the university council. So I thought that these are the lessons that we learn from the coronavirus. So I think I would like to say thank you for listening to me. But if you have any questions, please ask me and be my guest. Thank you very much.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.